Hello and welcome to Strive Defense Dialogue. I'm your host, Brigadier Rakesh Bhatia. And today I have a very special guest, Mr. Jaideep Saikia. Jai, welcome to the show, please.
Thank you, Rakesh. Thank you so much.
Before I start, we are same batch, though he's RIMC, the elite school, elitist of elite, and we had met long time back, and his classmates are all my batchmates, and for some reasons he could not join because of the medical reasons. But once a batchmate is always a batchmate. Once again, Jay, welcome.
Thank you. As a matter of fact, it's great to see you. I think after 17 years, Rakesh,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
I'm not
absolutely.
mistaken, we met in the 20 Mount Mountain Division, where I
Yes,
was asked to give a lecture by General Gyan Bhushan, who was the GOC at that time.
yes. You have you
I
have you
think
have
we
a
met.
fantastic memory, Jay.
You were in Changchari, and I still remember over lunch we had a great conversation. It's great meeting
Absolutely.
you after 17 long years, Rakesh.
Yeah. What a great feeling. So let's start today's program. And these are some of the books which Jaideep has written. Quickly, I'll go through, though his biodata is full of achievements. Quickly, the major highlights I will read. He's an internationally acclaimed conflict theorist and best-selling author. You can see few of his books which are there. He studied in the RAMC, I have already mentioned, St. Stephen's College, and the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, USA. I hope I have pronounced it correctly. He
Correct.
has served the government of India in the National Security Council Secretariat as an expert on the Northeast and the government of Assam as advisor counter-insurgency operations. Mr. Saikia was a member of Track 2 diplomacy with Bangladesh, China, and Myanmar, as also a senior fellow in the Vivekananda International Foundation, where he worked directly under the present NSA, Mr. Doval. I personally heard him, like he said, speaking on counterinsurgency and ULFA in 4 core. To be precise, it was Rangia where I heard him, and it was about two decades back. Mr. Jaideep Sakya is the only civilian to have been decorated with Eastern Army Commander's Commendation Card, Director General Assam Rifles Commendation Card, and Scrolls of Honor from 3, 4, and 33 Corps, the three formations which are looking after our Northeast region. Before I invite Mr. Sakia to give us his talk, very quickly, as usual, I'll try and put things in context. This is where Northeast region is, the geostrategic importance of the region we had covered in the last week also. It has 5 countries as a border. 98% of the border of Northeast is the international border. It has only 2% of its border which is with India. That is the narrow Siliguri corridor. It is very important for us for to look east or act east policy, as we say, because we are going to talk about look east policy. Is it look or is it act? We have issues with Myanmar. We have spoken about it with General Dushyant last week. China is claiming up to Brahmaputra Valley. Incidentally, Lhasa to Kolkata is just 1200 kilometers, whereas Lhasa to Shanghai is 3000 kilometers. Why I am talking about Shanghai and Kolkata is access to ocean, the warm waters. Nepal is a buffer between India and China, and it is also dependent on Kolkata. Bangladesh is a wedge between mainland and northeast. We need Bangladesh for our connectivity from West Bengal to the states in the northeast. And there are a large scale immigration problem also, which is there with Bangladesh. And the last country is Bhutan. Again, China is interfering in all these issues. These are very briefly. I have tried to cover Bhutan porous border and free move regime can be exploited by China. Bangladesh partially porous border, though now we have started fencing the border. Islamic fundamentalism is a problem. Safe haven and logistic support from criminals. Maoist turbulence in Nepal and Myanmar, 16-kilometer free regime and inhospitable terrain. lends to safe havens and logistic support from Naga and Meitei insurgents. With this as a background, my first question would obviously you can expect is going to be from Manipur. Almost an entire year has passed since hostilities broke down between Meiteis and Cookies. What, according to you, is the single most important reason for this? Please tell us.
Well, to answer your question, Rakesh, yes, I was just counting the number of days. It's 341 days till today that we've had this unrest which erupted in the land of emeralds or Manipur, as it is known as. And Rakesh, I really feel that time is out of joint in Manipur. But to give you a pointed answer, I think land stands right at the heart of the ethnic divide or the unrest and the violence that we're experiencing in Manipur at this point in time. In fact, land and land-related rights have always been there between communities in Manipur, and I think when I look back and hark back at history, I think coexistence was just being tolerated in Manipur, really. Now, let me explain. Let me give you a few off-the-cuff statistics, for instance. The valley of Manipur, for instance, accounts for 2,238 square kilometers, a mere 10.02% of Manipur's total land area. But it houses, Rakesh, 58.85% of the state's population. On the other hand, the state's hill area is almost 10 times of the valley area, which is 20,089 square kilometers. And it represents the rest 41.15% of the population. Now you can imagine that the geographical setting itself is the reason for the divide. Now, it's curious, and I have spoken about it in many forums, including the Center for Land Warfare Studies long ago, I mean almost 15 years ago, about this incongruous land reform act which where the Manipur actually has been endowed with. The Meiteis, for instance, the hill valley people are not permitted under this particular land reform act to settle in the hill districts. But there are no restrictions on the Nagas or the Cookies to settle in the valley. Now, this incongruity is very, very, very a wonky one. Moreover, the Meiteis are debarred from, I would say, special constitutional privileges granted to the scheduled tribes of Manipur, who are basically the inhabitants of the hills. Now, on the 3rd of May, 2023, which I said was exactly 341 days ago, there was a move to correct at least some of these dissidences, some of these anomalies. And I think it really triggered off or started a fire. I cannot understand as to why and I'm not passing any value judgment, Rakesh. Please try and understand that, and I'm underscoring this fact again and again. I'm here just simply stating the facts. I do not understand as to why the All Tribal Students Union of Manipur, that is ATSUM, are so opposed High Court's directive to just simply look at the possibility of providing ST status to the Meiteis. I think that would have actually put at rest all these problems that we were experiencing now. For instance, they took out a solidarity march and we triggered off the unrest which we are still experiencing. And let me just sort of digress by telling you one thing. Why do we give SC status or OBC status or MOBC status to various communities? Because they are supposedly backward. They do not have the wherewithal to compete with the other so-called, non-backward classes of people. But let me give you an instance from my own personal life. As you said very rightly, right in the beginning, I was wanting to be an armed forces officer. But after having cleared the UPSC written examination in your home city, Lucknow, and the services selection board in Bhopal, I was found to be medically unfit because of hypertension. Incidentally, I was the best scientific boxer that year. So I joined St. Stephen's College, University of Delhi. There, and I'm referring to the topic that I'm delving about Manipur. I came across and befriended people from the Meitei community, from the Kuki community, and the Tangkul community, among a lot of others from Northeast. But I saw no dissonances in the socio-economic, condition of these people. They came. In fact, I would even go so far to say that some of the tribals of Manipur who were students of Saint Stephen's were better off socio-economically. So much so that and Saint Stephen's being a minority college, despite the fact that it's one of the top colleges in the country, had the quota system for Christians. Now, at that point of time, I'm talking about 1985, when I passed out, I realized that there was something very amiss as far as that is concerned. Now, this 3rd May or I think April, when the High Court directive came that this should be referred to the Supreme Court or to not a Supreme Court, to a committee to look into the ST provisions for the Meitei. Now the Hill people, the ATSUM were up in arms. I think that figured off that thing. An unfair aspect, and I say it again, I'm not passing a value judgment, was sought to be corrected, and a level playing field were to be would have come into being. But instead of that, you have now 2 communities actually at each other's loggerheads, and you have untold violence and a complete divide. I went to Manipur last year on the 3rd of October. I went to Imphal. I flew to Churachandpur and Chandel because there's no way you can go by road. I've seen the condition, and the divide is absolutely complete. So it's just this thing. So, as I said, land is right at the center of the entire ethnic divide. There are aspects like people are talking about illegal influx from Myanmar, from a particular denomination, the Cookies clan, as it were. I really do not have any specific or reliable information on that. That could well be, but the fact of the matter is that either the geographical setting, as I have told you, and the fact that you see special provisions which were given to the hill people but not given to the valley people, continues to be a bit of a sore point as far as I'm concerned, despite the fact there was no socio-economic equality as I have experienced it in my life. Rakesh, over to you.
Tell me, very nicely you have summed up. In fact, a lot of doubts have got cleared. Even I used to think that what is this order and why there is so much of, now that you've said, I am absolutely clear. What is the way ahead?
Well, one thing. It's really a $1 billion question. What is the way ahead? Now, the Cookies are asking, for instance, separate administrative zones. I mean, in other words, there would be 3 separate administrative zones, one for the Nagas, one for the Valley people, and one for the Cookies. Now, the Meiteis, the Valley people, certainly don't agree with that. They will not accept a balkanization, despite the fact that it's not really balkanization in the true sense of the word. But here I give the example of the Boro, the territorial autonomous district, which is running very, very smoothly in Assam. Now, the Boro movement also had erupted, as you know. You have served in Assam and you know about it very well, Rakesh. And I think, Assam has ushered in peace as a result of, giving them what is called the autonomy plus. Some financial powers to, collect taxation for development of roads, schools, medical hospitals, etc. So I feel that, a similar arrange can be made if the Meitei community, the Valley people, were to be convinced about the provenance of such a move. But I can tell you one thing: there are people who I have discussed with. I'm not a great expert on Manipur. I'm not an expert on anything really. I'm just a student of Northeast security or traditional security. But the fact of the matter is, even if you were to have administrative zones of the way you're talking about Nagas, Kukis, and my days, different separate zones, Kukis and Nagas will ultimately come into some sort of a clash sooner than later, and they have had a history of that. Here, I must tell you, when I'm talking about the conflict, Rakesh, that I thought on the 3rd of May that, like earlier clashes, of course, the Kuki Naga clash in 1992 went on for 7 long years, but it did cross certain
98 or
threshold
something.
limits. Yeah, it did not cross a certain threshold limit as it has done now. But I thought the fatigue factor would set in. But this time I feel that the Rubicon line has been crossed, and a lot of other things. And if you ask me this, I can answer it at a later stage. Yes.
Okay. Now, when we talk about Manipur, we cannot ignore Nagaland because the problems are correlated. Problem of Greater Nagaland or Nagalim in this particular case, because as I had shown the map, on the northern part of Manipur, there are Nagas. So tell me now, what is this NSNIM doing? There are talks, there are peace time, there are camps, everything. Don't you think it has taken too much of time to resolve, or are we exhibiting something which I heard a very senior officer saying that we are showing strategic patience? I don't know if there is something called strategic patience.
Well, Rakesh, the Indian state, I don't want to sound unpatriotic, you see, uses the old Caucasian stratagem of Sam, Dam, Dandavad, reconciliation, monetary inducement, division, or punitive action to sort of control, belligerents, not only in Assam or Northeast, but, elsewhere where belligerents or, insurrectionary movements have risen. But the fact of the matter is, the NSA and IM poses a very interesting problem. At this point of time, I think New Delhi is more concerned about Manipur, but NSA and IM is the longest running insurgency in the world. And
Yes.
what are the two problems which I really feel are the obstacles? It is actually the flag and the constitution. Personally speaking, I think there is no problem as far as the flag is concerned. I mean, every club can have a flag as long as it is subservient to the tricolor. I have no problem. But the Yazamo or the constitution certainly is. And as far as the greater Nagalim aspect is concerned, I would like to say, I have a few things to say. Now, Thingalay Muiva, the General Secretary, who completed 90 years just a couple of weeks ago, as a matter of fact. Now, he is from Somdal. I've been to his home village in Ukhrul. Now, he
Your
can't go back.
Somdal is in Manipur, Ukhrul district.
Yes,
It's in
yes,
northern
yes,
part
yes.
of
From
Manipur.
the entire community is from this thing. As a matter of fact, I think you're taking the words out of my mouth. I would actually characterize NSA to be actually a Thankful party rather than a pan Naga party. So much so that the Nagas of present day territory of Nagaland do not have a great aspiration about Greater Nagalim and
But
parts of Manipur.
sorry for interruption, Jay. Isn't it very strange? I always find it strange that Seemas from Zunoboto and Thankuls from Manipur, they have stayed together for so long. Isaac Su and Moiva, that the NSCN IM has been like that. The militant, was it the militant wing and the diplomatic wing, or what? What exactly was this? I
No,
don't
you're right.
understand.
Isaac Chisisu is a Sunni. The
Yeah.
president who passed away in 2015, and he was the one who actually signed the framework agreement in ICU. You're
Correct.
right. But the majority of the people or the cadres of INSN IM are Tangkuls.
Yeah.
And even after Muiba is no longer in the scenario, I think either V.S. Atem or Anthony Shimre or another Tangkul will take over. And I hope our agencies have actually profiled these personalities well, because they could well be more belligerent than Muiva.
Correct.
Muiva was he's a guerrilla who went for a 1978 trek all the way to Yunnan. He's a guerrilla. But these people have seen the peace dividend paying off, and they would certainly not go back to the jungle, but they could be slightly more, belligerent as far as their demands are concerned.
I
So
I
what the
agree
government of
with you. They
India,
will be belligerent because they want to consolidate their position in the organization. Plus, you see, Anthony
certainly,
Shimre,
because
you have mentioned, or for that matter, BS Atim, these guys are actually tech savvy also. I mean, if they themselves are not tech savvy, at least they're using the IT to their advantage. I have had experiences looking into the way they are handling their propaganda, the way they are ordering their arms and ammunition, the logistics. They are using technology. And see, an insurgent group with an armed cadre plus technology becomes that much difficult to handle.
absolutely, absolutely. But what you're saying is very correct. These people are, I mean, in fact, I would say, there's an anecdote which long back, I think somebody very senior in the Home Ministry told me while discussing this particular topic that, whoever tells government of India that please agree to some of our demands because otherwise I can't go back and tell the second rung of leadership that, who are more belligerent than he, that, these cannot be accepted by New Delhi. So you're right. But the movement, I think, is not going to go away so easily. As I've said one thing, when I gave a lecture in Kohima last year in 16th of September to the students of Kohima College in Captain Kangaroo Hall, after my lecture and after the response by way of the Q&A, etc., with the young students of Kohima primarily, I realized that they are not interested in a greater Nagaland. They do not consider the Bankus who do not speak the Nagami language, by the way,
Same
to
language also,
be
yeah.
to be Nagas in the true sense of the word. And there is some law which sort of I'm forgetting 1965 after the creation of Nagaland. You see, Bankus are not in that particular list as well.
Yeah.
Now, to say, I mean, the long and short of it is that the Nagas of present day Nagaland territory are very happy with the 1975 accord. The territory is the same, some autonomy plus is given, the flag might be given, certainly the constitution as far as Jadip Saikya is a no-no. What would the Naga army do? You think they will be allowed them to guard the borders, international borders? Certainly not. They can go to doing some policing duties, but what happens to their heavy urban weaponry which they are holding? I'm certain that the government of India will not allow that. The amount of weaponry in Camp Hebron and such other designated camps have to be given away. So these things have to be trashed out. But more importantly, I think we need to have a referendum. That is the only way out to find out whether all the Nagas actually want a greater Nagaland. The bluff of NSA and I would be called as a result. They will tell that yes, we are very happy with what the government of India has given us. And I think after having spoken to the students of Kohima, colleges of Kohima on 16th of September 2023, last year, I have come to the conclusion that the heart is in the right place. They are for India. They're looking towards New Delhi and Bangalore and Mumbai and other such places where they want to go and study and and find employment and other aspects. They're not looking. Sanjay Hazarika might talk about as a crow flies, Hanoi is closer to New Delhi, to northeast than to New Delhi. But geography doesn't play a role here. I think the Naga or the northeasterners' heart is with Bharat, that is India. That is absolutely, very well. So when you
Exactly.
talk about
What you're
NSA and
saying is
I,
right. Today only I was reading an article. I won't say the author. He's saying that ethnically and the way you look at it, people in the Northeast look more like people from Southeast Asia rather than India. Why are we feeding these narratives?
yeah, I mean, we have counter narratives. I mean, I certainly feel Rakesh. I mean, like the way I left for Dehradun at the age of 11, and I think, the Rajdhani with Nagas and Northeasterners leave for New Delhi. Their future and the vision is India. Yes, people might be going to Southeast Asia, but there is no truck, there is no emotional thing. And this is the narrative which New Delhi and right thinking people like you and others should actually promote But I am a little cautious about the NSA and IM.
Yeah.
You see, I'm reminded of AGP Taylor, the famous historian in England, English historian, when he wrote his book called World War II, One War. Just came to my mind right now, He talks about mobilization for war, and he blames it on the railway timetables. You see,
Yeah.
railway timetables cannot change. Now, the NSCN movement, almost like the one which we have just spoken about as far as the radical militias of Manipur, so they have taken a momentum which cannot come back so easily. So similarly, in AGP Taylor's words, mobilization for war depended on railway timetables. Here, the threshold, the Rubicon has been crossed, and I don't think it's so going to be so easy to sort of, either bring back the Manipuri revivalism or the NSC and IM onto a path of, reconciliation. And I'll tell you one very important reason. Even if there is a, say, breakthrough in talks, do you know what's going to happen, Rakesh, to the NSCM camps in Sagaing division in Somra tracks? A person called Rambo, who's running the camps, or his name is Absalom Tankul, is going to stay away from the talks. They have the Ali Command or the Foreign Legion there. So you see, the government of India, New Delhi must understand the entire thing a little more holistically, more comprehensively.
Absolutely. Okay. I had few more questions also, but since audience have also said, so I will take audience question thereafter. My next question to you is, and I have two more, so we have to quickly, answer this.
I'll be short.
What is the role of Indian Army and Assam Rifle in Manipur and Nagaland? Because a lot of confusion has been created by, I will again say, irresponsible journalism about role, especially of Assam Rifles in Manipur. Some politically motivated, and some, I will call it, ignorance or trying to be too smart. So, what do you think is still the role same, or it should undergo a change?
Brigadier Rakesh, I'm going to tell you very frankly. Yes, I donned the noble olive gold uniform as an 11-year-old, but I'm not biased. I have gone out of patrols with the two forces which you have named, Indian Army and the Assam Rifles. I've seen the riflemen, I've stayed in the COVs, and I'm telling you, and in Nagaland and Manipur and Arunachal Pradesh, and of course in Assam, I have never seen a saner lot. If there is a single sane voice at this point of time in Manipur, then it is the Indian Army and the Assam Rifles. And the people are asking for his ouster. How preposterous that can be. They are not biased at all. They're simply calling a spade, and that you heard about Colonel Biplab Tripathi, how he was brutally murdered, and that man is absconding, Sanatomba, somewhere sitting in Sagaing division, merrily. He not only killed Colonel Biplab Tripathi of the Assam Rifles, but his 5-year-old son Abir and his wife. And these sacrifices should be known to the entire countrymen of India. Assam Rifles, I salute them again and again because of and they are unlike the army. They stay there forever. You see, in the northeast, they have given their entire life for the region, and you are accusing them of being biased. You are asking for their ouster from Manipur. I can't see anything more preposterous than that. It is politically motivated, and perhaps they went into an agreement with the Kuki groups way back in 2008, suspension of operation. But that doesn't make them anti-Maite. That did not allow them to sort of, ask them to sort of, side with a particular community or other. The Indian Army and the Assam Rifles are the only organization in this country left, Rakesh, which I'm telling you are absolutely non-partisan. So much so that in a recent writing, I have said that the only way out really for Manipur is to have a unified command and control structure under the GOC 3 code. The police of Manipur is in a mess. They are absolutely biased. They are sold out to the militias, to the radical group called Arambai Bengal, where DSP was picked up in the middle of the night. And in protest, the police laid down the arms, the Assam Rifles, for one reason or the other, despite the fact that the best officer dropped from the Indian Army. But the fact of the matter is, we now need an iron hand. We need a person, and I can't think of anybody but the General Officer Commanding of FRICO, whoever he is in Rangapahar, actually being given the mantle like the way he was given in Assam. Look at the way Assam is now ushered in peace.
Yes.
Lieutenant General S.K. Sinha, when he invited me back to Guwahati in 1997, said, Jaideep, three mantras: kinetic action, psychological initiative, development. Go hand in hand. General R.K. Sahni, General N.C. Vij, General Bopanna, all of us sat together, police, intelligence agencies, and now we have absolute peace and development. And hats off to the present Chief Minister as well for having, ushered in, untold development. Himanta Biswa Sarma may not be liked by a lot of people for a variety of reasons, but one can't blame him for the Assam that he has taken forward leaps and bounds. That is a truism. I have met that person only once, and but I can't help but sort of call a spade, and I think Assam is experiencing a miracle, and I can't understand why Manipur cannot experience that particular phenomena as well. Only it needs a particular sense of leadership, and that's it.
Now
So,
that, Jay,
yeah.
sorry, please complete.
No. I'm simply saying that you see the unified command control structure, which should be under the FRICO GOC, would bring together the Manipurese police, which is in an absolute state of disarray, dysfunctional. It will bring the Assam Rifles. It will well hone the intelligence of the Assam Rifles by actually, being able to collate and get the inputs from the end users, which are also the state police and the CPMF, etc., etc. Recently, you heard about the attack on the CRPF. 2 Jawans died, one inspector and another Jawan died in Narayan Sena. These things are happening because of the fragmented nature of the security grid. So you need to have one voice, of course, and I'm sure the GOC FRICO would be consulting his people. They sit together the way I remember, I was a security advisor in Assam at that point of time, and I met you for the first time. So, to come together, to consult, and then one voice, clear voice, which is a conduit also to New Delhi, speaks for the entire security agenda for not only Manipur, because these are all, overlapping and crisscrossing. Nagaland is there. Now you have, the valley-based insurgent groups entering Manipur from the 3 lead clusters, central, southern, and northern clusters of Sagaing division, with the help of the NSA and IM. So you can't divorce Manipur from Nagaland or even southern Arunachal Pradesh.
Yes.
So I am looking.
Longting, Changlang,
Longting, Tirap and Changlang district. This is a gateway for Manipur. So you see, I am thinking of a particular unified command structure which New Delhi should do well to actually mull over immediately and construct and actually get it done with. Otherwise, you're asking me for the way forward. I think this should be done immediately. And another thing which I'll end quickly is that you see, long back when Mr. L.K. Advani was the Prime Minister's candidate, he asked me to come and meet him. I gave him a sort of a blueprint for a Northeast Security Council. Now the NEC has not worked, the donor has not worked, but I'm not talking really about development here, Rakesh. I'm saying about territorial security, for peace processes, dialogue, even ceasefires, and perhaps even talks with the India-Chinese boundary as far as the eastern sector is concerned. You need a Northeast Security Council in Modi 3.0, who will, the head of which will report directly to the Prime Minister on matters of Northeast. Because Northeast is an expanse which is very, very different from the rest of India. It has its own dynamics, it has its own peculiarities, and it has to be addressed very, 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 very with finesse, as I would say.
Okay, now there are questions, so I will again quickly, now that you mentioned about Assam, I can't help but ask you one question. Bihu is around, Rangoli Bihu is around. So I recall Paresh Barua. Paresh Barua is still in Rohili?
Yeah, he's in Rohili.
Okay. Okay. So he's वो नहीं आने वाला है.
नहीं वो तो नहीं आएगा अभी.
Okay. So Paresh Barua, for our viewers, he was the head of the
Chief of Staff.
military wing, boss of the or CNC as Alpha used to
Chief
say,
of Staff, CNC, whatever you call it, yeah.
whatever you want to call. So he had banned Hindi songs on Bihu. So what is the situation today in Assam?
Well, first of all, Rakesh, is a very interesting question, but again, it'll be again in my book on Alpha very soon. It's just about to be completed, but it's very interesting. During the heyday of Alpha, by the way, right now is absolutely irrelevant. Himanta Biswa Sarma, the Chief Minister, has made sure that this time around, on the 26th of January, earlier at least there used to be forgetting about bomb blast, token, flag being hoisted on of the Alphas in the village or so. That also has disappeared. In other words, Alpha is finished. But to respond to your question, during the heyday of Alpha, when you were serving here, we used to have boycott calls.
Yeah.
Not only about we're not going to elections, etc. And the only time I voted was on one election when Alpha had called a huge boycott. Nobody came out in the streets. But I, with my old parents, walked across the street for about 5 kilometers and cast my vote. I didn't know who I cast for, but just to sort of, show my, belligerence and show my, absolute opposition to the Alpha. But as far as Hindi music, Hindi songs being played in Bihu Tolis, Bihu, celebration grounds, I remember they used to give a diktat saying that there will be no Hindi songs.
Yeah.
Now, I was asked this question by a North Indian officer in Toko when I was giving a lecture. One of the lectures, you were not there, but it was around that time. They asked me, sir, don't you think that Alpha is doing a great work by trying to preserve Assamese culture by not allowing Hindi songs and Hindi culture to come into Assam? So I turned around and say that what is Assamese culture? What is the meaning of Paresh Barua? What is this Hinduism, the Vaishnavite Hinduism, or any form of Hinduism which I'm practicing now? Does Paresh Barua, the chief of Alpha staff, know that his name is derived from the Dasha Avatar, one of the avatars of Pareshuram himself? If he is bent on stopping Hindi music, he should realize two things. He should give up his name as Paresh Barua, which is the name of Lord Ram, Pareshuram, one of the Dasha avatars. A, and B, he should realize that he is actually trying to sort of wage war against a mainland India from where his religion comes from, Dwaraka or Ayodhya or wherever. So that hypocrisy of Alpha was stemmed in that point of time. And we took such initiative throughout. I'm not patting myself in the back, but we thought of very innovative moves at that point of time, which can be replicated in Manipur and Nagaland as well, to show that we have a very strong umbilical cord in place with the rest of India. It goes all the way to the ancient times, to the Mahabharata, to the Vedas. How Lord Krishna came to fight Banasura in Tejpur, Koko headquarters, to rescue his grandson.
Dimapur, that Bhim ki
Bhima's wife. Hidimba. I mean, you know history very well, Rakesh. So, these things have to be told. We wrote pamphlets after pamphlets, told the Assamese people what the reality is.
Yes.
And my question is that why, if he wants to talk Hindi music, then first of all, apna naam to change kar do, bhaiya. Paresh means Pareshuram. Ram ke baad. Ram ke from Ayodhya, not from Barpeta.
See, the influence used to be right up to. Sorry, the influence used to be right up to Laos, Cambodia and Vietnam. Even today, they are called Indo-China area.
Correct.
It had an equal influence of India as well as China in that. So our influence was encompassing all this. We have Buddhist relationship. We have Mahabharata episodes. In fact, for our viewers, what we were talking about, Dimapur, there are huge, chess coins which are made of solid stone, जिसमें ये कहा जाता है कि
There is no way of you can deny these things. Kumar Bhaskar Varman, who was a king of Assam, Kamrupa, he was an ally of Harshavardhan of Thanishwar.
Correct.
You see, I mean, they were not vassals; they were equals. They did not come to fight. And the Mughals were invaded, as you know, 16 times by the Arab rulers. So these aspects, cannot be forgotten. The fact that Assamese culture and Assamese, Guwahati, as you know, is the first port of call for the rest of the northeast. We in Assam, we absolutely, and Nagaland broke away, Meghalaya broke away for whatever other reasons. The fact of the matter is, the umbilical cord which binds the northeast with the rest of India is absolutely something which we have to guard and bind with even stronger knots. And it really is for the right thinking people of both Northeast and India to do that.
Okay, we'll take the questions now. I think we've already
I hope they will identify themselves.
Questions you have already answered actually. So I will take Mr. Rishi is our regular viewer. He's saying there are demands for Greater Nagalim, including parts of Manipur and Myanmar. Please comment. You have already done it. So we will. Anything else you want to add? Otherwise, we'll move on to the next question.
No, as I said, there has to be a referendum. That we call the bluff of the NSA whether the Nagas in their entirety actually want a Greater Nagalim, or are they actually, as I understood it during my lecture in the Captain Kangarusu Hall on 16th of September in Kohima, realized that they are very content with their present territory of Nagaland. And if a referendum is done, whether they want a Greater Nagalim with parts of Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, and certainly Manipur, where Ukhrul is, where Somdal is, where Muiba comes from, then the bluff would be called. I can assure you there is great animosity.
There is a follow-up question by Colonel A.K. Singh on this. You can take this also on. Sir, you profess referendum. Do you believe that NSCN will accept the result if it doesn't go their way?
Fine. The result of the referendum will show to the world, to India, and to the parish which NSCN claims to represent, that it is hollow. So naturally, whether they accept it or not is a different matter. But today, this referendum has not taken place. I do not understand why the government of India doesn't go forward for this. Or at least actually, I have heard it myself. I've spoken to Naga people this morning in preparation for this particular interview. They have said, we don't want the hills of Manipur. Now, what does it mean? If a referendum takes place, if they can squarely say that, Mr. Muiba, you are a Tangkhul from Manipur, you are a Manipuri, you are not a Naga. We don't want a Greater Nagaland. Then we go back to 1975 and the NNC agreement with the Shillong Accord, as you know. Flag, the constitution, these will be, slowly, cobbled out, I feel.
Okay.
As I said,
there is a doubt which has come in my mind.
It's a different matter. In that case, bluff will be called.
But there is a doubt in my mind now that you're calling. ये थांगकुल चाहते हैं Greater Nagalim and Nagas नहीं चाहते क्या अभी? The civil society within Naga confines of the boundary area of Nagaland.
Absolutely
Is it correct assessment? It is a requirement of Thangkuls.
The NNC, which is headed by Hangami Zapu Pizo's daughter, Adino, now and I've been to Konoma also, which is Zapu's Pizo's village. They have no truck with Tangkuls. Tangkuls don't even speak the Nagami language, which the tribes, the Aous, the Engamis, the Semas, the Konyak, these people speak among themselves. So it's a pidgin form of Assamese. They have nothing. I've seen that in my college in St. Stephen's. I said, these people were totally removed from the Naga way of life. And I can give you instances, dates, where Nagas, the Tangkuls actually have come into clashes in Dimapur and have sold off the property in Dimapur and gone off to places like in Manipur, actually fearing that there will be more apprehensions.
Okay, we move ahead. He seems to be a great fan of yours. Major Dr.
Oh,
Muhammad Ali Shah. This also you have answered, but I wanted to flash this question. You wrote about a unified command structure for Manipur, Nagaland, and South Arunachal Pradesh. Today you have spoken about it. What are the three most important reasons for such a recommendation?
well, as I said, first of all, the Manipur police is a disarray. It needs to have a strong leadership to come back to one thing, one the thing. And as I said, the most gravest mistake which was done in the first week after 3rd of May was the dismissal of Mr. P. Dongal, the Kuki Christian DGP. I can assure you, Rakesh, if he was there in office, a Kuki IPS officer from Mr. P. Dongle, the entire thing would have petered out in a month. But he was removed, not because of inefficiency. It was the person who was below him who was looking after the intelligence who should actually have been pulled up. Instead, he was removed. If they had continued with him, and I've written about it, Mr. P. Dongle, who was a Kuki, a Christian, these things would have not happened. So the Manipur police, they allowed the militias to take away the armor, loot the armories, and it's a divided lot. They are alongside the militia, out of fear probably, as I told you, a DSP was abducted by the around by Tengol. So they needed leader, and the GOC 3 Corps is the only leader. A. B. The Assam Rifles, despite the wondrous work which it is doing, also needs a disha, objective, and where to go, how to go. It is being called biased, partisan force, etc. And of course, it is officered by Indian Army officers. But still, you need one particular strong voice, which I think is the GOC 3 Corps, which will give out a direction after due consultation, of course, which also would be a conduit to New Delhi, which would provide both for the intelligence gathering, the stratagem, the sit together every month, the way they used to sit in Assam and perhaps even the valley in Kashmir, and then work out a doable strategy, which is top downwards, and then we will see the result. I
And we
see.
have an example in front of us in J&K. We have already worked under unified command. In fact, Assam example you gave.
Assam is a successful example. That's it.
Okay. JBJP asked, what do you have to say on open demand made by Kuki leaders, spokespeople, etc. and Karan Thapar show again and again that separate state is only solution? They are so open about it. How to deal?
Well, if you can, well, if you can sort of convince the mighty people for the organization of the state, which I don't think is going to happen, well, you can give it a try. But all I'm saying at this point of time, and I've said it again in a webinar which I attended along with Mr. G.K. Pillai, the former Union Home Secretary, and the Lieutenant General K. Himalay, saying that you see, by giving them autonomy plus the way I gave the example of the boreholes of Assam, could be a way out. But let me tell you something by way of an anecdote. When I went to Manipur last year, on the 3rd of October, I went to Churachandpur, Chandel, etc. On the last day, the IG South threw a dinner for me, and there he said, "Sir, is it possible for us to get 6 people from the two different denominations, 6 cookies and 6 mitres, and sent to Guwahati or Shillong, and you perhaps can chaperone it and get things moving in a track to dialogue form?" Since I've been to track to dialogue in China, Myanmar, and Bangladesh. So I said, all right. But when I came back to Guwahati, nobody was ready. And I could realize why. Rakesh, because they have to go back to their places of residence. And naturally, the militants would threaten them. So I have one ready-made solution immediately. If the government of India is listening to your program, let us choose 6 cookies and 6 mites from a place which is not inside Manipur. Say from Delhi. Let them come together, chaperoned by the Intelligence Bureau or some such other agencies, sit down for a week, thrash out the thing. And the most important thing is to be able to write and cultivate the media, and through the media, the leadership which is trying to rebel rouse in Manipur with both the Meiteis and the Kuki community. And slowly, I feel the saner aspects will prevail. And then, but I'm talking about people who are not residents of Manipur because they have an apprehension. They told me very frankly, if we go back, we will be killed. Why we being sold out? So I'm saying let's choose people who are from Delhi or Bangalore or Mumbai. I would say Delhi. So we get them together and let them write. Let them come into shows like these and say we appeal to our leaders, our militia, the militants, the Sioux, the Arumba Tengor, that enough is enough. Development is taking a back seat as a result of this 1 year old plus unrest, violence. And then it is, in the end, I'm telling you, Rakesh, it is a civil society which will be able to, which has to really take a call. Political patronage is a mirror of what the civil society expects it to do.
Yes. Yes.
Mr.
Absolutely.
Biren Singh or whoever, and I'm not going to pass a value judgment, will have to bow down to the wishes of the people when the pitch comes to be felt. When push comes to shove, and the push will come to shove when the 6 people from both the denominations in Delhi will sit together and make a clarion cry and say enough is enough.
Yeah.
But we, as right-thinking people, I'm not, Jaideep Seke is nobody, but people in Delhi who are empowered, whether it is the Intelligence Bureau or the Ministry of Home Affairs, have to empower and facilitate this meeting of minds physically and otherwise. I think so. After the elections, this should be the first step the new government should take. People from Kuki community, people from Maite community who are well known, and there are people, professors, JNU, etc. I know them. They can come together in Delhi, and then into the age of information. I mean,
Yeah.
anything can happen and rapidly so. And then we will see how the difference is. This has come to my mind this morning. I thought I'll share it with your viewers.
No, no, absolutely. See, role of civil society. If you recall, first time when we spoke, we wanted to do a program. I had requested you to do civil society, and it's saying for some reasons it has gone into back burner. But I had during the last tenure in Northeast, I actually saw that civil society has evolved and it has a say in what is happening. And I think social media has played a big role in this.
I mean, look at Assam. I mean, there has been the
Yes.
People's Consultative Group, there has been the All Assam Students Union, all these things, which actually forced the Alpha at one point of time to come over around. And I think, contribution has been made. And it's
Yes.
very important to understand that, I want to make a point quickly here, if you permit me,
Yeah.
Rakesh, is about Assam. You see, Assam also, everything is hunky dory, but radical Islamism is also a cause of concern. And if you allow me, I will just simply say that before things become out of control, we must use 3 methods. And I want to quickly use this opportunity to tell out this. First of all, sever the connection between the leadership and the target population by kinetic action and sever the link so that we get a breathing space for some time. I'm talking about the radical Salafists who were sitting in Afghanistan, the Islamic Khorasan state, and if people think that Islamic State is all gone, just going to think about what happened in Moscow just a month or so ago. So they could happen, a strike could happen here, especially with Bangladesh abutting us so closely. A. B. I think you should be able to psychologically segregate the target population from the ill effects of the Salafists. Because we in India, and I hate to use this word, Islamic, but fact of the matter, the Muslims are a very moderate law, the Hanafi school of thought, Muslims. So we need to psychologically segregate them. And thirdly, which we have tried out in the Assam police, we must use the minority population as a foil against this alien agenda. Now, this could be true for every, problem. But as far as the third wave of radicalization, which I think is on its on the march, these 3 aspects should be tried out by the Indian state.
Okay. Let's go ahead. There are very interesting questions, Jay. I think we can't afford to leave it. this apprehension you have to, this gentleman is saying, Saikit Ghoshal, will India lose northeast states very soon, Manipur, Nagaland, and parts of Assam, if India do not crush insurgency groups and do not fence India-Myanmar borders?
I have written an article, Rakesh, which I say, and I've been a very, very, well-known critique of the government. But this time around, I think the fencing of the India-Myanmar border, as was pronounced by the Home Minister Amit Shah, is a great idea. Fences are not walls. But the fact of the matter is illegal ingress to Manipur, and I think, I've been shown satellite photographs by certain agencies that they have actually taken over forest lands, etc., is really the culprit. And of course, poppy cultivation, gun running, etc. So fences, and it is now a fait accompli anyway. The fence is going to be in place. And this free trade regime or free movement regime, etc., I don't think is going and taking our development anyway. We need to have, national security is uppermost in our mind. A number two, as you mentioned right in the beginning, active policy. Fences are not walls, but at the same time, a calibrated move with a great manpower. And yet, you're right, Assam Rifles have to actually double its manpower capability to be able to man the fences properly. And once that is done, then you have an agreement with Myanmar when things hopefully cool down. And then you have the trilateral highway all the way to Mandalay and the seamless causeway all the way to the Pacific.
Yeah.
But the insurgency, the gun running, the poppy cultivation, the drug running, the human trafficking will
Yeah, you
stop.
can take on this question also, because some say it is a drug war, the reason of violence. Manipur used to grow oranges. Now production of oranges is replaced by opium.
Well, I'll answer it just by an anecdote. When I went on the 3rd of October to Imphal and LO, the liaison officer of the Major South, he showed me around the houses of, the poopies have been burned down. I thought they were very affluent houses. At any rate, when I went to one of the regiments of the Indian Army, which was airlifted from Assam, so the CO tells me that, there's a delegation of traders who want to meet you. They thought I was a very influential person, which I'm not. At any rate, people from Punjab, people from Rajasthan came to meet me, and they told me that their businesses have suffered. I asked them why. I said, the shops are running well. I went through the streets of Imphal. I'm going there again, by the way. They said no, because our end users are the main purchasers were the cookies. I said, how is that? In the last 10 years, the cookies, and I'm sorry, I do not know how to sort of put it. And I'm saying again that I'm not making a valid judgment. Have become the most affluent of society, people in Imphal. Now, why, how, they actually purchasing places in Guwahati also, in Shillong. When I went to 33 Core recently to give a keynote address in a Siliguri corridor, I went to a saloon to get my hair cut. You know who I found? A cookie barber. It's interesting. No, I'm just telling you. So they're all over the place now. But the affluence which I was told about by the trading community in Imphal city, in the regiment which I went to visit, I don't want to name it, told me very frankly that they were the affluent people, and now they suffer because of they're decamped. Now, where has this money suddenly come from? The word narco-terrorism has been used by the mighty people. Now, when I went to Churachandpur, I met both the sides. I met people from the Kuki community as well. They were very angry at the fact that the Maites are using the word narco-terrorism, etc. Now, the test of the pudding is in the eating. One has to investigate closely. But the fact of the matter is, satellite imageries, you see the influx of Kuki population, you see them going not only to Manipur, but to the forest lands of Manipur, which are reserved. And you've seen the awkward land reform laws. They're entering Mizoram, they're entering Assam now. So, I see that when you talk about growing oranges as opposed to growing replacing it with opium, there could be an either truth in all this. Absolutely, because the Assam police, I can assure you, very good friends of mine who are in high places in Assam, have actually apprehended a lot of drugs of late in this thing, which has thoroughfared through the regular routes which come from Manipur and Nagaland. So the source of the opium trade or its other manifestations have actually originated in the the growing fields of Myanmar. And who are the growers? Well, it's anybody's guess. I really will leave it at that.
Okay. Aksha, this question, I think it needs a full-fledged program, so I'm just flashing it. We will not discuss it because it will then go beyond our time,
But
and
I
as it
just
is, we are
quickly,
running.
this is a very important question,
Yeah.
Rajesh. I would like to say that there is, you see, China will fish in troubled waters, certainly. And then, the PLA chief, Manohar Mayom and Paresh Bora sitting in Duli, as you said, in your very first statement, right? About Paresh Bora. There's no question that the Chinese will naturally try and fish in troubled waters, and because of the humiliation that they face in Galwan, etc., they will try to open up proxy wars through other means. But there is an organization called the North American Manipur Tribal Association. Are you aware of that? That there is a propaganda and possible. I do not have proof, but since I am a very frank and a candid and a fearless person, I'm saying that this particular AMTA, this North American NAMTA, sorry, North American Manipur Tribal Association, are certainly going in for a lot of propaganda against what they call as a pogrom against the Kuki population in Manipur. Alongside that, there is a possibility that there are other subterfuges as well. So we cannot rule out the foreign hand at all. And I think our intelligence agencies are on top of this. And in the days to come, with the concerted efforts, this will be unraveled. These things can't, be kept swept under the carpet for too long.
Okay. Colonel R.P. Singh, sir, India and Myanmar are facing similar problems of border, that is, border crossing, smuggling, etc. Why both are shy of working in tandem?
Well, at this point of time, Kal RP, all I can say, sir, is that Myanmar is going through a huge unrest. You see, civil strife, as the People's Defense Forces battling the Myanmarese army with the help of the valley-based insurgent groups, incidentally, who they have given safe havens. Earlier, there was Operation Sunrise 1 and Sunrise 2, where they helped us. But after the military takeover of 1st of February 2021, they have actually come into an agreement with these valley-based insurgent groups, which were known as the Coordination Committee or COCO. But after the defection of the UNLF Bombay and the staying away of the UNLF Koirang, it has become the Group of Five or the G5. Now, Myanmar doesn't have great control over its borders with India. I think primarily because of the civil strife, we never had great control over Sagaing Division or even even the Rohingya belt, etc. But at this point of time, I think they are very concerned about the civil strife which is happening there. The Nepido, the military junta is very, very concerned about that. So there was never, I don't think there was ever a move to concertedly actually come together and address this issue of smuggling of, particularly drugs or even gun running. Way back in 1995, J.R. Mukherjee, when he was the Two Mountain Division GOC, later on, when we used to talk, he says that there was something called the Operation Golden Bird, where both the armies actually, not only apprehended huge a cache of arms as it was being brought from Chittagong through Myanmar in Upper Assam, and then Foreign Secretary of Alpha Satra Chaudhary was apprehended, etc. So these are two, We need to work on a neighborhood first policy very, very, robustly. It is not work, and gratefully, our present Prime Minister Modi, he has gone out of his way to go to Bhutan during an election year. Bangladesh gratefully has seen a friend and ally being reinstated as the Prime Minister, but there are aspects in the other region, including Myanmar. And Myanmar is, because of the activist policy, etc., is very, very important that we need to do business. But I believe, and I myself was a part of the track two with the Yangon, Jalketi Patnaik, G. Parthasarathi, all of us went to Yangon, and this was 2014. But the fact of the matter is, I think, new openings have been made out now. And one thing I would say, Kalan R.P. Singh sir, is that, military diplomacy is very important because the junta or Senior General Mohang Ling actually understands the military idiom better than anything else. So instead of having a diplomat as our envoy, perhaps the next envoy could be a former general or a former Indian Armed Forces officer to as an envoy to Nepido. To be able to do two things. A, to make them understand our needs and to be able to explain our idiom as it relates to theirs, and also most importantly, wean them away from the Chinese embrace, which is coercive. I do not think that Myanmar, for one instance, and most Myanmaris, and I've been to Myanmar, not for a long time, I don't think that they simply tolerate the Chinese. It really needs some sort of a very out of the box diplomacy to be able to get them away from the dragon's clutch. If we are able to do that, then we will have our development projects like the Act East policy, the Kaladan multi highway project, this, that, the other in
Yeah.
place. I can only say that.
Okay. Brigadier Pankaj Sinha has given you a personal message, so I thought I must
Oh my God.
sing you.
Hello, sir. How are you?
So I thought,
Of course, when he was commanding his brigade in Agia.
yeah,
And in 2000, I still remember he was a CEO of 5 Jakalai. I went out on a very interesting operation, or you could call it whatever. I rode behind his motorbike in Nalbari, and I'm so glad to see you, sir. Here, learned that are you still in Chennai? I hope. And Brigadier Rakesh should give you my number, and we should be in touch. I remember spending a lot of wonderful time with you, and I hope Ashwarya and everybody else is also well. My best of luck for ma'am and your daughters. So, Brigadier Sinha is a
okay,
very, very dear friend. I wrote about him a number of times in my columns.
okay. One last comment. Agree that out of box thinking is required. I think this sums up the reaction of audience. So yes, everybody, you have conveyed that what needs to be done. It's simple to say that we need out of box thinking, but you have given certain indications that how exactly this out of box thinking needs to be done. I think Jaideep, you've done a wonderful job, and though there are certain aspects which I thought I'll be able to cover, but what you were giving so cogently and logically, I didn't have the I couldn't have interrupted you to ask my questions. With this, you need to promise us that you will come back again to our channel, because there are
Certainly,
questions which
Rakesh.
have not been I have not been able to ask you. And
Certainly, Rakesh.
thank you very much. And I'll request the viewers to please like, subscribe, and share. And um, Jaideep, I know, has worked very hard to bring this topic, and so you've spoken from your heart. Thank you very much, Jaideep.
Thank you, Rakesh. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.